Welcome to the Kwedu Report. Joining you from Sydney, Australia, my name is Harry. In today's program, our topic is South Africa has to be brave enough and confront the demons in their own backyard.
They came out in their thousands for a day of Durban in Johannesburg.
Xenophobia violence seems to be spreading among foreign nationals.
This is South Africa, going in search of other African nationals.
Simple because he is a foreigner in South Africa, almost.
South Africa today stands at a precarious juncture. They face a national unemployment rate of 32.7%, with youth unemployment spiraling to a staggering 6.9%. In the shadow of this systemic collapse, a dangerous and convenient narrative has taken hold. The belief that their neighbors from the neighboring countries, the migrants among them, are the chief architects of their misery. We have seen deadlines issued to foreign nationals, vigilante groups engaging in intimidation, and a growing climate of fear. But let us be clear, these anti-migrant campaigns are not a solution. They are a high-stakes distraction. South Africa is not being overrun. It is being hollowed out by its own internal demons. Corruption, a total lack of service delivery, and the failure of successive black governments to realize the economic promise of their independence in 1994. But first, a brief historical context, something that the international media has not been touching on. It is a profound irony and a symptom of historical amnesia that they now target the very people who sacrificed so much for their freedom. During the apartheid era, the frontline states such as Mozambique, Angola, Zambia, and Zimbabwe were not mere neighbors, but they were sanctuaries. These nations provided military training, humanitarian aid, and diplomatic refuge for South African liberation fighters. Now, the apartheid regime in turn unleashed brutal terror upon these countries for their solidarity and sacrifice. Pretoria further orchestrated civil wars, fomented insurgencies like Renamo in Mozambique and UNITA in Angola. It conducted lethal raids into Botswana, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, killing both local residents and South African refugees. These nations paid for the South African freedom in blood and economic stability. Now, to turn around and brutalize the citizens of these same countries today is not only a failure of policy, but it is a betrayal of the spirit of Ubuntu that once defined the collective aim of the struggle. Now, if we look at some of the things that have been happening in South Africa, the current climate of violence, forced evictions, and intimidation stands in direct contradiction to international human rights standards. When vigilante groups take the law into their own hands, it is a fundamental breach of human rights of everyone within their jurisdiction. Every human being has the right to dignity. International law is very clear. All migrants, regardless of legal status, are entitled to respect, protection, and enjoyment of their fundamental human rights freedoms. Now, irrespective of their status, every person, including undocumented migrants, have the right to life, liberty, and security. The South African government has a primary obligation to protect all individuals from violence and inhuman treatment. Let's also look at the prohibition of forced evictions. The issue of forced evictions. Forced evictions are considered a gross violation of human rights. The home, regardless of tenure or status, is protected against arbitrary or unlawful interference. Everyone threatened with displacement has the right to a fair hearing and legal protection. The failure of regional oversight is one thing that has been quite surprising. The silence of the African Union and the Southern African Development Community, SADC, has become a point of critical concern. These bodies are mandated to promote peace and stability across the continent. Violence against migrants is not a domestic squabble. It creates regional friction and threatens the safety of citizens from the whole region or the sister states. Regional bodies must move beyond reactive statements. They have an obligation to hold South Africa to the treaties it has signed and demand that the state uphold its constitutional duties. We haven't seen the African Union and SADC doing this. Now, facing the real demons is what South Africa needs to do. South Africa's struggle today is a struggle for accountability. When they march against migrants, they are doing the work of those who prefer they remain divided. They are fighting the symptoms while the disease, that is governance failure, spreads unchecked. Who benefits from this? They have to stop scapegoating vulnerable migrants. Real security is not achieved through mob violence or illegal forced removals. It is achieved through the rule of law, the protection of human rights, and the performance of government that serves its people instead of blaming its guests. Now, South Africa needs to deal with its own demons so that they can finally start building the nation they were promised in 1994. Now, I want to say to the leaders of the marches that have been taking place in South Africa, you need to confront the demons that are in your own country. Scapegoating migrants from neighboring countries does not bring a stable supply of electricity into your country the next day. Scapegoating and attacking migrants, whether documented or undocumented in your country, does not bring you jobs the following day. Scapegoating and attacking migrants from neighboring countries, documented or undocumented, does not bring better service delivery onto your doorsteps the following day. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about what is happening in South Africa today? Do you think the South African government has done enough to address the needs of the Africans or the majority citizens in the country? What do you think is the way forward to address the vast challenges that face South Africa today? We want to hear your opinions. We want to hear your comments. One disturbing thing that has been noticed during the recent marches was that the organizers have been targeting mainly African immigrants. Quite disturbing when Africans show clear hate against fellow Africans. Instead of uniting and coming up with solutions to problems that are common to all of them, they fight one another. If you are joining us today, thank you very much for joining us on the Kwedu Report. Our message is very clear today. South Africa, there are demons in your backyard. You have to be brave enough and confront them. The successive black governments that have been in power since independence in 1994 have not done enough to address the concerns of the ordinary people, the majority of the citizens. What do you think is the solution? Do you think the migrants that are in South Africa are the problem or are the cause of the problems that we are facing today? Let us have a conversation. Thank you very much for joining us. You can follow and like our page on the Kwedu Report, on Kwedu Classics, on Facebook, on X, on YouTube, and on Instagram. Till we meet again in the next edition of the Kwedu Report. Remember, you can also read all the latest news from our website, news.com.helcommedia.com. Till we meet again in the next edition of the Kwedu Report. Have a good one. Asante sana. Thank you.